Wizards study magic from spellbooks in arcane schools. Clerics gain their magic from devotion to the gods. Druids draw magic from nature. Warlocks sign dangerous pacts with eldritch entities. But sorcerers are born with raw magic inside of them. It infuses their bodies and souls. The only other class similar to this is the bard, who is something between a sorcerer and a wizard in this regard. So if you want to be an innate magic user, the innate magic user, beyond being merely a spell caster, but actually a spell channeler, then the sorcerer is for you. You have no need for superior intellect or the depth of wisdom. You wield your arcane power through your own emotions and persona. The sorcerer is another class that only came into its own in 3E, whereas before that the term sorcerer could be applied to various types of arcane spellcasters. However, the sorcerer in 3E, while being its own class in the player's handbook, was really like the odd little brother of the wizard. 4E is the edition that truly brought sorcerers into their own, and introduced the sorceress bloodlines as both lore and subclasses. This was a tremendous stride for the class, and one that continues into the current edition. Like most of 5E in general, the sorcerer class is part 3E, part 4E, and part something new. As before, I'm going to go through all the general sorcerer features with their ratings shown on the screen from F up to S tier. Then I'll go through all the features of the various sorceress origins, which are the subclasses for the 5e sorcerer. And at the end of the video, we'll get a ranking of the sorcerer subclasses as compared to each other. Hit die. Like the wizard, the sorcerer has a d6 hit die, which is the smallest hit die in 5th edition. Actually, no. Technically, there is one smaller hit die. Tiny-sized creatures have a d4, like rats and toads. So, at least you're tougher than a rat. As always, there are some good ways to mitigate the sorcerer's low hit points. It just depends on what options you choose. Also, the sorcerer gets no armor proficiencies and only a few simple weapon proficiencies. With saving throws, you're proficient with Constitution and Charisma, Charisma being your main ability score as a sorcerer. Constitution saves are used against effects that require physical toughness and resilience to endure them. A poisonous creature bites you, you enter an area of toxic gas or fungal spores or even bitter cold air. You're exposed to disease, you're getting worn down by fatigue, and so on. This is one of the 3 most common saving throws in D&D, along with dexterity and wisdom, so proficiency in it is going to help you sooner or later. Charisma saving throws are far more rare, but they often are the ones that you really don't want to fail, such as being forced into another plane. I almost rated the sorcerer's saving throw proficiencies as B tier, as Constitution save effects happen more for like frontline fighters, but we cannot forget something very important: spell concentration. If you take damage while concentrating on a spell, you must succeed on a con save or lose the spell. The DC is 10 or half the damage you took, whichever is greater. So a sorcerer having proficiency with con saves is a really nice benefit. Skills and tools, you get 2 skills from Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion, and no tools. Fairly average here. Arcana is a great skill to have, especially for a spellcaster, and the social interaction skills are also very useful if your campaign and your DM feature such role-playing scenes, and I really hope that they do. Spellcasting. Beginning at 1st level, you gain the primary feature of the class, spellcasting. Sorcerers are full casters and do not lag a level behind wizards like they did in 3E. Your spell list is similar to the wizards, though without quite the wide range of options. Also, you do not get the ritual casting feature. Whereas wizards study and learn magic and maintain spell books from which they prepare their daily spells, sorcerers innately know their spells. They come from within. Your number of spells known is quite limited, so choose wisely. In light of all this, you might say that the wizard is slightly better with spellcasting, and in a sense, that is true. at least in terms of sheer versatility and the amount of spell options available to the wizard. However, the sorcerer can do some great and unique things with magic, which we will see here at levels 2 and 3, and these provide other fantastic strengths. Also, at first level, you determine what your sorceress origin is. Where did you get this innate magic? But we'll get into that when we look at the subclasses. Font of Magic, second level. Here's where the sorcerer starts to really get into his own with spells. You have an amount of sorcery points equal to your level, which replenish after a long rest. You can convert sorcery points into spell slots as a bonus action using the table in the sorcerer class description. You can also go the other way and convert spell slots into sorcery points equal to the sacrificed spell slot. Meta Magic, third level. The amazing features continue with another signature ability of the sorcerer. Meta Magic draws heavily from its 3E version, which interestingly was more associated with the wizard then. Now exclusively for sorcerers in 5E, Meta Magic allows you to alter your spells on the fly by spending sorcery points. You gain 2 Meta Magic options at 3rd level, and later gain another one at 10th and 17th levels. These include all kinds of wonderful options, such as casting a spell as a bonus action, imposing disadvantage on enemy saving throws, affecting 2 creatures instead of 1, casting without any verbal sounds or gestures, re-rolling your damage dice, and others. This is one of the funnest, most versatile, and most effective aspects of the sorcerer. Sorceress Restoration, 20th level. Jumping all the way to max level 20, we have this unfortunately out of place feature. Whenever you complete a short rest, you recover 4 sorcery points. Well, that would have been great during the mid-levels of the game, but at the very end of the game, it's really nothing to get excited about. We saw a similar problem with the wizard, and to a lesser extent the warlock. As before, the issue is that once you hit 20th level, you're probably just going to have one final adventure, or one final epic dungeon, or maybe even just one last big battle. Features like Sorceress Restoration are meant to help you over time, over the long run, so it's a bit annoying to get them only at the very end of your adventuring path. I would have much rather seen a 20th level sorcerer become imbued and united fully with the arcane power that fuels him. Like a dragon sorcerer, gaining a full dragon form, a storm sorcerer that can now turn into a greater elemental form, and so on. But no, we get a refill of a 5th of our sorcery points. Bleh! The general sorcerer features overall are a mixture of weak physicality and highly potent magical ability. You're not as overall versatile as a wizard, nor can you heal like a cleric, but you are a full caster, and your sorcery points and meta magic give you an edge of your own. There's also something to be said of the sorcerer's style, being self-made and fervently charismatic, rather than an old bookworm or a servitor to some greater being. That's right, we sorcerers don't hide away in dusty libraries. You don't have to either. Here, let me show you. Reach within, using your feelings. Tap into the primal force that lies within your core. Release the fire of your anger, the ice of your loathing, the lightning of your desire, the acid of your sarcasm. Strike there, the target, the button of subscription. Yes, that's the way. If you haven't noticed, I put a lot of passion into these videos, and I thrive off giving out inspiration dice to everyone. So do not hesitate to subscribe, show me a bit of support in return. Now we're on to the Sorceress Origins. Draconic Bloodline. Dragons are the most iconic magical creature of D&D. It's Dungeons and Dragons, after all. Their power has influenced certain aspects of the D&D world, including the draconic sorcerers, from the lowliest kobold scale sorcerer, to the passionate dragonborn sorcerer, to the mighty arch-sorcerer who serves as the right hand of an ancient dragon. These arcane characters are empowered by dragon blood, and they are bold to stake their claim to glory.
He had seen dragonfire in the sky.
Dragon Ancestor, first level. This feature is where you specify what kind of draconic lineage you have, as in red dragon, black dragon, silver dragon, etc. At just level 1, this provides you with the draconic language, and whenever you make a charisma ability check to interact with the dragon, you double your proficiency bonus. So it's like having expertise with persuasion and such in regards to dragons. So this feature is pretty minor in and of itself. It mainly serves as the setup to other features that come. Draconic Resilience, first level. You gain +1 hit point per level of Sorcerer, and when you're not wearing armor, your armor class is 13 plus your dexterity bonus, due to a fine covering of scales on your body. This feature helps toughen up the normally frail Sorcerer, making it almost like you had a D8 hit die. Your lesser dragon scale natural armor gives you an AC as good as if you had mage armor permanently cast. Elemental Affinity, 6th level. Whenever you deal damage of your dragon ancestor's damage type, you add your charisma modifier to the damage roll. When this happens, you can also spend 1 sorcery point to gain resistance to that damage type for 1 hour. The damage boost is nice, but I think the resistance should just be a passive effect, not this conditional, temporary version that costs sorcery points. This also brings up an interesting detail. Sorcerer is one of the main classes for the Dragonborn race, and obviously a dragon sorcerer is their inclination. But a Dragonborn already has resistance to the damage type associated with its dragon ancestor. This means that the resistance portion of Elemental Affinity does jack squat. Or it might do something different. It might actually incentivize players to always contrive something like, well, I have 2 different dragon types in my background. Bronze dragon gives me lightning breath and passive lightning resistance, and brass dragon gives me fire elemental affinity. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and it seems like the guy who designed the sorcerer class didn't talk to the guy who designed the dragonborn race. It's annoying inconsistency that actually hurts the dragonborn race, and this is a race that already lags behind most others. If I had a player who wanted to play a dragonborn sorcerer, I'd say his elemental affinity would bump his damage resistance to immunity for the hour. If you are so dragon-blooded that you are both a dragonborn and a dragon sorcerer, I think you could get temporary immunity, just like how true dragons have permanent immunity to their associated damage types.
Fire cannot kill a dragon.
Dragon Wings, 14th level. Now you become even more draconic. As a bonus action, you can manifest dragon wings that give you a flying speed equal to your walking speed. The only little hurdle is that you need to customize your clothing or armor to accommodate the wings. It is a little odd that you can sprout and retract wings as a bonus action, but hey, magic! And having an innate flying speed is a nice benefit that few characters get. Flying like this is something that is much more powerful at low levels. It's not quite as strong at higher levels, but it's still a really nice benefit to have. Draconic Presence, 18th level. The draconic abilities reach their pinnacle with this pseudo-frightful presence. As an action, you burn 5 sorcery points, and you give off a 60-foot aura that lasts for a minute and requires your concentration. Whenever a hostile creature starts its turn in the aura, it makes a wisdom saving throw. If it fails, it's either charmed or frightened, your choice, for the aura's duration. A creature that succeeds becomes immune to the draconic presence for 24 hours. I'm not sure why 5e insists on giving classes subpar, underwhelming features at high levels, but here's another one. The theme is great, but it's too situational, it's too underpowered. It only works on hostile creatures, so in role-playing scenes it's probably not going to do much. It's really not going to do much different than what you or any other character could just try to do anyways. There will usually be better options for you to spend your action, concentration, and 5 sorcery points. So, the Dragon Sorcerer has a few hiccups throughout it, but it's a good option if you want a sorcerer that's a bit tougher and does a bit more damage. Wild magic. Primordial chaos flows through you. Perhaps you were born this way, or maybe some strange incident exposed you to wild magic. Perhaps you're touched by fae, or a demon, or a being from the far realm. You are truly the opposite of the dedicated and studious wizard. You're a raw and unpredictable conduit of arcane energy. Wild Magic Surge, first level. Whenever you cast a sorcerer spell of first level or higher, you roll a d20, as long as you have the DM's permission, and if you get a 1, you then roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. This is a set of 50 different magical effects of all kinds, from instantly casting a 5th level magic missile, or fireball detonating right out of you, to glowing blindingly bright, or gaining resistance to all damage for a minute, to turning into a sheep, or plant. Honestly, it's a little hard to rate this feature from an objective standpoint. I personally love it, not only because I love rolling on randomized tables in D&D, but also because of the sheer variety of effects and the unique flavor that this brings to the subclass. As a DM, I always let the Wild Sorcerer character roll the d20 after casting every first level or higher spell, which at that rate, the Wild Magic Surge seems to come up once every few sessions or so. And it's always an interesting moment that fascinates everyone at the table. I understand that not all DMs may roll this way, and I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that think this feature just sucks. But I think it's one of the most unique and magical feeling features of any class that I've ever seen, ever. Tides of Chaos, first level. By manipulating the strands of fortune and chaos, you can gain advantage on one attack, ability check, or saving throw. You regain this feature with a long rest. Or, if the DM deems that a time is thematically appropriate, you regain it after casting a sorcerer spell, and you roll on that magic surge table. I love it! Gaining advantage on essentially anything is always helpful, and this also includes a prompt for the DM to have you roll on that wild and wonderful magic surge table. And players, don't hesitate here to remind your DM that you've got this option. If the moment feels right, bring it up. Bend Luck, 6th level. Whenever any creature that you can see makes an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can spend your reaction and 2 sorcery points to roll a d4 and apply the results as a bonus or penalty. Now, d4 is not a huge increase or decrease, but think, how often does a roll come up just a little short of the target? Or how often does an enemy hit you just exactly, or make it save against one of your spells just exactly right on the DC? Fairly often. This is something that happens every session, of course. So use Tides of Chaos to tilt these close calls in your favor, and you will be really glad for it. Controlled Chaos, 14th level. Whenever you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, roll twice and take your choice of the result. Again, this is somewhat DM dependent, but if you've played with a hard-ass, fun-denying DM all the way to level 14, you've probably got bigger problems going on. Really, this makes your Wild Magic Surge notably better. Let's just give it a test roll now. Alright, that's a 27. For the next minute, all your spells with a casting time of 1 action have a casting time of 1 bonus action. And that's a 13. You cast Confusion, centered on yourself. Pretty cool if you ask me. Casting all spells as a bonus action for a minute is amazing, though there could be a situation in which you're surrounded by enemies, and potentially confusing them all, yourself possibly included, would be an effective choice. It would also be bizarre and memorable. Some people will naysay this feature because they don't like Wild Magic Surge, but I think it's all just really cool. Spell Bombardment, 18th level. Once per turn, whenever you roll damage for a spell and you roll maximum on one of the dice, you can roll that die again and add the result to the total damage. Well, it's helpful, I suppose. A little more damage is always nice, though this won't always increase the damage really by much. It's just not enough to be an 18th level feature. It feels low level, And really what rubs me the wrong way is that it does not fit with any of the other Wild Sorcerer features. Like, the theme is out of place. It disappoints me that instead of capping off with an ultimate feature of primordial chaos, you just get a little damage booster. The name of the feature isn't even accurate. You're not bombarding anyone with spells. You're just getting a slight increase to damage. This should have given you a random chance to trigger another spell whenever you cast a spell. Like maybe whenever your wild magic surge goes off, you instantly cast 2 cantrips for free. That would be a bombardment. So of the 2 PHB sorcerer subclasses, wild magic is definitely my favorite. And in fact, the first character I ever played after 5e was officially released was a wild sorcerer. Wherever you are out there, Valcyrn, this video is dedicated to you. I hope you're still poking holes in plots and sowing chaos in the lives of the ignorant. Next, we move on to Xanathar's Guide to Everything, which brings us the Divine, Storm, and Shadow Sorcerers, each of which I've seen in action and quite enjoyed. Divine Soul. This is the spiritual successor to 3rd edition's Favored Soul class. There was also a Favored Soul Paragon path for 4e's Avenger class, but that one was a bit different. The lore here gives us some interesting ideas, such as you having some kind of celestial ancestry, or your birth taking place under prophetic conditions, or perhaps a god of magic putting a certain spark into your soul. Whatever the details, you are a special being who has innate divine power, reminiscent of an actual deity.
Are you a god?
Divine Magic, 1st level. With this one feature, you gain access to the entire cleric spell list. Thus, the Divine Soul becomes the 5e class with the most variety and versatility of spell effects. I'd say the Bard comes in close 2nd place there. Balancing this, however, is the fact that sorcerers know a fairly limited amount of spells, thus having to pick through 2 whole class spell lists is going to cause you a lot of dilemmas and needs for sacrificing. You'll probably be tempted to focus mainly on blasting and healing. I can't blame you. In addition, you learn 1 bonus spell based on the alignment affinity of your source of divine power. Good alignment provides cure wounds, evil is inflict wounds, law is bless, and chaos is bane. Oh, and neutrality is protection from evil and good. These are all really solid spells. Wow, what a feature! A final note to keep in mind here is spell scrolls. This is a way for you to mitigate your slim number of spells known, and by picking up some spell scrolls, you're going to get access to more from both the sorcerer and cleric lists. Favored by the Gods. Also at level 1, you receive yet another great class feature. Once per short rest, if you fail a saving throw or miss with an attack roll, you can add 2d4 to the result, thus possibly or probably changing the outcome to a success. It's simple, it's highly effective, you'll get to use it pretty frequently. Wow, Divine Soul has come out of the gates blazing. Empowered Healing, 6th level. Once per turn, whenever you or an ally within 5 feet rolls dice for healing, you can spend 1 sorcery point and re-roll any of those dice. So this would apply to everything from healing spells to healing potions to even spending your hit dice after a rest. As long as you're okay with spending 1 sorcery point, you or your party member's healing is really just that much better. Otherworldly Wings, 14th level. This feature is nearly identical to the Dragon Sorcerers, except the wings here are spectral, thus there's no interference with your clothes or armor, and you don't have to customize anything to accommodate them. Aesthetically, they resemble an eagle, a bat, or dragonfly wings. Unearthly Recovery, 18th level. Once per long rest, you can regain a number of hit points equal to half your maximum, as long as your current hit points are below half. Using this highly potent healing takes only your bonus action. Hell yeah. Or heaven yeah. Or limbo yeah. Or Mechanus yeah. This is a great feature, and it reminds me how I wish more capstones were better. Well, the Divine Soul Sorcerer is pretty awesome. I could see some people not liking it because they think it steps on the cleric's toes too much, but It was either this or make a whole new class called Favored Soul. Well, this isn't 3E, cranking out the classes and prestige classes and splat books. And the original Favored Soul was somewhat close to a sorcerer anyhow. It works for me. I like the lore. I think it does fill a cool niche in the fantasy world that is outside of the priestly theme of a cleric, and as we've seen, its features are just really effective. Shadow magic. If you are inclined to take a walk on the dark side, the Shadow Sorcerer just might be for you. Many classes have a dark version, such as the Necromancer Wizard, the Shadow Monk, the Death and Grave Domain Clerics, the Hexblade Warlock, actually the whole Warlock class. The Sorcerer of Shadows draws power from the Shadowfell, aka the Plane of Shadows, and its grim power flows through his body and soul like a river of wraith plasma.
I am the shadow on the moon at night.
Eyes of the Dark, first level. You gain dark vision out to 120 feet, which is farther than any character race's innate dark vision. Wait, except Drow. They already live in shadows and have 120 feet of dark vision. This feature advances once you reach 3rd level, as you learn the Darkness spell. And you have the option of casting it using 2 sorcery points instead of a spell slot. And if you do cast it with the sorcery points in this way, you can see through the magical darkness created by the spell. As we've seen with warlocks and their Devil's Sight, this is highly effective, as most foes will not be able to see you, yet you can see them, so you have advantage on your attack rolls against them. It's a potent combination of offense and defense. Strength of the Grave, first level. You exist on the borderline between life and death, which makes you more difficult to kill. If damage reduces you to 0 hit points, you can make a charisma saving throw with a DC of 5 plus the damage taken. If you succeed, you instead drop to 1 hit point. This does not work against radiant attacks or critical hits. And if you do succeed, you cannot use this ability again until after a long rest. In theory, this is great, and it will certainly save you from time to time. But against things that deal high amounts of damage, your chances of making the saving throw could be slim, or even impossible. This reminds me of the half-orcs racial feature, which theirs is actually much simpler and better. Hound of Ill Omen, 6th level. This is one of those rare, amazing class features that is the perfect mixture of style, theme, and mechanics. You are able to summon a Shadow Hound with a bonus action, and sacking 3 sorcery points. Its stats are like a dire wolf, and it attacks one target that you designate. The target also has disadvantage against all your spells while your Shadow Hound is adjacent to it. Amazing. Shadow Walk, 14th level. As a bonus action, you can teleport up to 120 feet as long as you begin and end in dim light or darkness. This is very similar to the Shadow Monk's class feature, and it provides a wonderful amount of mobility and infiltration. Depending upon the environment and the illumination, you will have varying degrees of ease or difficulty in using this, but in general, you should be able to use it pretty frequently. Did I mention this is at will? Umbral Form, 18th level. For the cost of 6 sorcery points and a bonus action, you can enter a wraith form for 1 minute. In this form, you resist all damage except force and radiant, and you can move through solid objects like a ghost, though this does not give you flying. Again, I have to give a cheer of gladness for another really good capstone feature. The Shadow Sorcerer is about as good as we can expect from a subclass. It's full of stylishness, in this case, dark stylishness, and it is a really nice mix of features that are both familiar and unique. It doesn't lack for power nor viability, though everything has a sense of balance to it, such that even its stronger aspects have their stipulations. Storm Sorcery. The might of storms is incredibly fitting for a sorcerer, a class that has raw arcane power flowing through it. I can't help but think of our beloved Lycar Telvantis from the livestream campaign, Land of Dreams and Nightmares. He was a mighty force to be reckoned with in battle, and also really effective as a utility spellcaster when it came to certain scenes aboard the party's ship or against some of the extreme weather situations the party faced. Wind Speaker, first level. You are fluent in the primordial language, which thus opens up the subdialects of Aquan, Auran, Ignan, and Terran. This is a minor benefit. It fits the theme of the class. I just wish this feature provided some other perk along with it. Tempestuous Magic, first level. Whenever you cast a spell of first level or higher, you can spend a bonus action to fly 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. This is a nice little utility feature that gives you an edge with mobility, with terrain navigation, and getting you out of sticky situations in combat. And what else at first level? Wait, that's it? Well, that seems off. What the hell is going on here? Oh, wait, this subclass was originally from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. Well, it's a bit annoying how Xanathar's Guide reprinted so many things. Well, let's press on. Heart of the Storm, 6th level. You have permanent resistance to lightning and thunder. And whenever you begin casting a lightning or thunder spell, creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you take lightning or thunder damage equal to half your sorcerer level. Well, that's more like it. What a great feature. Storm Guide. Also at level 6, you get another feature here. As an action, you can stop the rain in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on you. And as a bonus action, you can alter the direction of the wind in a 100-foot radius centered on you. This effect is something that you'll only use in certain situations. It can help you with navigation, with ships voyages. All kinds of different exploration scenes could be affected by this, even skill challenges could. Or hey, you could even end up using it in a scene that has ship-based combat. It's a really nice secondary benefit that goes alongside the main feature. I, as a DM, often do random dice rolls for weather, and these details really help to bring the fantasy world to life. I encourage you to do the same. Storm's Fury, 14th level. When you are hit by a melee attack, you can spend your reaction to deal lightning damage to the attacker in an amount equal to your sorcerer level. The attacker must also succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed 20 feet away from you. It can be a bit situational, but it's a nice effect, and this feature gets even better if you build your character around it and you combo it with other things. Wind Soul, 18th level. Your lightning and thunder resistance changes to immunity, and you gain a magical flying speed of 60 feet. As an action, you can reduce this to 30 feet and give your allies each a 30-foot flying speed as well. Right on, this is definitely one of the best capstones that I've seen yet. In the end, the Storm Sorcerer proves to be an immense contender. It does not come out of the gates quite so fast as some of the other Sorcerer subclasses, but it soon builds up momentum. I just wish it had a way to turn Fireball into Lightning or Thunder, or maybe a way to slightly improve Lightning Bolt so it can be as good as Fireball. So those are all the officially published Sorcerer subclasses in 5e thus far. We just have 5 at the moment. It's not as many as some classes have, but I'm sure we'll get to see more sooner or later. On the upside, they are overall really good options, and the Sorcerer I feel is a quite well-designed class. Now let's rank these subclasses. In 5th place is the Dragon Sorcerer. This is the only Sorcerer subclass that I think really needs a bit of revision to improve it. 4th place, Wild Sorcerer. It's a great mixture of unpredictability and influence over chance. 3rd place, Divine Sorcerer, an extremely versatile arcane divine spellcaster. 2nd place, Storm Sorcerer, a mighty elementalist that commands wind, lightning, and thunder. And 1st place goes to the Shadow Sorcerer, a powerful and versatile dark mage. So with the exception of the Dragon Sorcerer, these are all great options. Dragon isn't bad, it just needs a little revision, a little boost. Maybe the Wild Sorcerer could get a better or clearer implementation of the Wild Magic Surge, but the 3 from Xanathar's Guide are all really neck and neck. It's hard to say which one is better than the other. The Sorcerer class is sizzling with style and potency, and it has a really nice balance of complexity. If you're interested in more options and ideas for your own game, head over to my Patreon page. I have both free content and content that is exclusive for patrons. I make dungeon maps, newsletters, custom monsters, and more. I also do a live stream every month where I take questions from patrons and also from the live comments. That will wrap things up for the time being. I'm gonna misty step out of here and take a long rest. I look forward to seeing you all sometime soon in the next video. May your adventures be many.